This week on Lexington Now, week one of severe storms preparedness, grants and special programs, and LFAs. I'm Neil Noah, and welcome to Lexington Now for the week of March 1st, 2021. March is Severe Storms Preparedness Month in Lexington, and this week we kick off a four-part series on how you can be prepared before severe spring weather strikes. This week we talk about tornadoes.
Well, I'm Tim Brandewey. I'm the Emergency Operations Manager for Fayette County, and we are entering the month of March, which is annually our Severe Weather Preparedness Month. There's a good reason for that. This time of year, as we transition from winter into spring, there's a lot of turbulent weather, and unfortunately sometimes it does lead to destructive straight-line wind thunderstorms and also tornadoes. I would say that the best advantage we have nowadays in preparation for tornadoes and severe weather is the improvement in technology. I've been on the job here for about 17 years. And over the years, I have noticed how much better the forecasting, the tools to disseminate danger or warning information can be. It's a tricky time of the year because a lot of times when we have that kind of destructive weather, it happens during the overnight time, so a lot of people are asleep. And so what I'd like to mainly point out is some of the information sources, especially that can aid citizens in being prepared for weather. Obviously, the local news and weather forecasts. The Division of Emergency Management also has a Lex Alert system, which allows people to sign up for custom warnings. It's really not going to be a surprise normally that we have destructive weather coming. As I said, the forecasting and the technology and our linkages with the National Weather Service, we're pretty good at narrowing down time frames where we're going to be at the greatest risk. Especially during the overnight hours, some of the best information sources, I think, first of all, is to have a NOAA weather radio in your home. Sign up for Lex Alerts because in the middle of the night, most people obviously aren't going to be watching TV. So that is probably the best heads up someone's going to have that a destructive storm is approaching. As you prepare for Severe Storms Month, it's important to have a plan for your home and a plan at work. The most important thing really is having good information sources, of which we've outlined a few, and also have a plan for if a tornado warning is declared. And the difference between a warning and a watch is a watch means the conditions are right for destructive weather, but watches can be 10 hours long, so it's kind of difficult to necessarily stay focused 100% of the time, but it alerts you to start thinking about preparation. And as part of your plan, you should have a shelter area in your home identified. Ideally, basements, if you can get underground, is the best thing. If you are in the type of dwelling that doesn't have a basement, the most important thing to do is get as far away from any outside exposures to the weather. That's doors, windows. So normally you go into interior hallways, bathrooms, because what you want to get away from is potential damaging debris. The majority of injuries that we see during these destructive weather events actually are what we call from missile hazards. In other words, glass or other things of that sort. So you want to get as far away from the outside as you can. And when you go there, make sure you've got a charged phone or a charged weather radio so you can hear updates from the city and from local news sources. And again, because this happens in the overnight periods a lot, I highly recommend a weather radio. Personally, things that I do when I know severe weather like that is coming is I look around my property, try to identify things that could get picked up by the winds and thrown around. Lawn furniture, trampolines are a biggie. I've got kids and grandkids. I've had a couple trampolines get airborne, so I usually flip mine upside down, maybe wait on them. But the most important thing is have a good mechanism to get updates. If you're out traveling in your vehicle and tornado warnings declared, or you observe dangerous conditions like that, obviously the best thing to do is get your car into a solid shelter somewhere if you can. If you're hung out on the road, it's actually safer to get out of the car and get to the lowest piece of ground you can find, whether it's a culvert or a drainage ditch. I know a lot of people think that hiding under underpasses or overpasses is a good idea. It's really not. It kind of forms like a wind tunnel. So the other biggest advantage I think we all have nowadays is this, smartphone. I can look at the radar on this. I can tell almost, to the 20 minutes, when a storm is going to hit us. This is a very unpredictable time of year. I think that's kind of the point. I know we've just come out of an ice storm and snow, but this is that transition period, and March, April is a really vulnerable time for us, and we can get very violent thunderstorms that can turn into tornadoes pretty quickly.
One of the divisions in the LFUCG that has come more into the spotlight during the past year is grants and special programs. We spoke with Charlie Lanter about what it is the division does.
So I'm Charlie Lanter. I'm the Director of Grants and Special Programs, and our division is responsible for all of the federal and state grant funds that the LFUCG applies for and manages across all of government. So that can obviously range from housing programs to police and fire projects to engineering projects. So it's a pretty wide range, obviously, that what we deal with. In a normal year, our division manages a portfolio of about $100 million in value of active grant projects. And so just to give you some perspective, since March, when the pandemic really started, through various federal allocations such as the CARES Act, LFUCG has received more than $40 million of additional funding in response to the coronavirus. So it's been pretty busy for us, as you can imagine, trying to apply for those funds, get the contracts set up, and work with the appropriate divisions, or in some cases outside partners and subrecipients out in the community, to get those funds to the particular use and area that they're needed in order for our community to respond appropriately to coronavirus. In addition to that, we're also the division that's responsible for helping to track the city's emergency pandemic expenses so that we can turn those in later to FEMA under disaster response reimbursement to hopefully get some of our money back. There's different kinds of grants. Some grants we get every year. So, we're already working with that federal or state agency annually. They send us an email, hey, it's time to apply, and it's a cycle every year. And what we do is work with the division because they know best their work. It's not like we're experts in the delivery of fire services or in constructing roads or any of that. So they help us by writing up the descriptions of the project and the program. We work with them on the budget and getting things, the financial pieces in order. And, most applications now are submitted online, so we collect all that, we get council approval, and then we get the submission in. But, there's also other grants that are more competitive, where we're out seeking money that everybody else is after as well. And so our division also watches for those opportunities. So do the individual divisions, because, again, they're on the different email listservs for their particular trade organizations or, just working in that field. So between us and them, we work together to sort of monitor opportunities. Every morning I get an email from the federal government that lists all the federal grants that have been released that day. So I take a look at that every morning, and if I see an opportunity that will benefit one of our divisions, I send it out to them and say, hey, take a look at this. Is this something we want to do? During the pandemic, what we see is we're trying to move more quickly. Typically this is a long process. It's, you get the grant, there's a 30, 60-day turnaround to write it and apply. The federal agency may take 6 months to get back with you on whether you got the grant and then to award you the contract and before you actually get the money. And so, but when you're turning around money from the CARES Act or some other law where the goal is to respond to an emergency, we don't have that kind of time. And so, what we're seeing is we're getting a notice from a particular federal agency, hey, we've got this money for your police department or for your fire department, and you got 2 weeks to submit this application. And so you got to get on the ball, get that turned in, and then they're turning it back to us within a couple of weeks in most cases, and we're able to get that money pretty quickly. So that's great. Just recently we had a rent program come through, and within almost 30 days of Congress appropriating the money, we had it in our bank account, which is almost unheard of in terms of speed for federal grant funding. And so it's really accelerated the process, which is a good thing that I hope actually outlives the pandemic. It'd be nice if we continued at this faster pace, because sometimes, as you may suspect, working with the federal government, it's a slow, painstaking process.
When we come back, LFAs.
I wear a mask so I can safely fly out of Lexington Airport to go see my grandson because I like grocery shopping and going out shopping with my daughters.
So I can feel safe when I go shopping or go to the grocery.
In memory of my husband, Bill McCann, who was a community leader, and he would have supported this cause.
Help me and wear yours too.
Help me and wear a mask too.
Welcome back to Lexington Now. One of the most prevalent forms of crime in Lexington is LFAs. What are LFAs, you may ask? Larcenies from autos. Brenna Angel tells us how to avoid falling victim to this preventable crime.
Thefts from automobiles can unfortunately happen any time of day and anywhere in Lexington. We've seen it happen. Last year in 2020, we had about 2,000 reported thefts from automobiles, and it's a really frustrating experience for the victim because they come out and they see that their car light may be on, that their car has been rummaged through, and maybe some valuable things have been taken. Anything and everything can be stolen from a vehicle. If you can leave it in your car, it can be stolen from your car. Like I said, anything from purses, wallets, medication, jewelry. We've seen wedding rings that are stolen. Certainly firearms are a major concern. There were more than 300 firearms stolen from vehicles in Lexington in 2020. That's very concerning because a lot of times those firearms are never recovered. A stolen firearm is a crime gun. And so it was used, someone took it, and they may then use that firearm to engage in other criminal activity. And that's really something we want to drive home with people is that it's an unsafe habit. If you are leaving your firearm in your vehicle, we would really encourage people not to do that. So that's why we say always make sure that valuables are taken out of the vehicle, and that includes guns. It's one of the most frequently occurring crimes that happens in Lexington. Fortunately, though, it's very preventable. So what we encourage people to do is to always take valuables out of the car. Valuables include money, wallets, prescription medication, jewelry, and especially firearms. All of those need to go out of the vehicle anytime it's left unattended, and to always make sure that the vehicle is locked. A lot of times what we call a car break-in is really not a break-in at all. Someone has just accidentally left their vehicle unlocked. What we frequently see are criminals who walk around a neighborhood at any time of day, really, and they're checking car handles. They're looking for easy opportunities to take things. Most of them, I would say, are crimes of opportunity. Occasionally we will see, and this has happened to me personally in my own family, where a window is smashed. And usually that's because an item is left in plain view or you have someone that's watching. So if you go to the gym or to a park, these are places where people may have brought something with them, but they don't want to have it on them, like a purse or a briefcase, something like that. They don't want to have it with them while they're at the park or at the gym, and so they'll try to hide it underneath a front seat or underneath a coat. Thieves know to look at those places, and they may be watching you in the parking lot and you're not aware of it. So occasionally we do see instances where a car window has been smashed to gain entry into the vehicle. Another valuable thing that people may not think about is a spare key. A spare key is also considered a very valuable item because that then gives the thief entry into possibly another vehicle. And so What sometimes happens is we not only have a car break-in, but we have a stolen vehicle because someone may have a spare key in one car. They accidentally left that car unlocked. And so now the thief says, oh, I have this key, click, click, it goes to the car that's parked in the driveway right next door, and now they have a stolen vehicle. It does happen where we're able to recover items. The biggest thing is if you do have a firearm or any valuable item, this goes for iPads, laptops, and certainly firearms, your serial number. Make sure you have that information readily available, because if we do recover something that we believe is stolen, that's how we're going to be able to get it back to the victim and track where it may have gone. So if you park your car or truck or SUV outside anywhere, whether it's at your home, at your place of business, while you're out shopping, while you're at the park or the gym, then you are susceptible to being a victim of theft from an automobile. And we don't want that to happen. So the easiest thing to do, take stuff out, always lock your doors.
As we head into March, thunderstorms and tornadoes aren't the only severe weather we have to deal with during this month of transition. There's also the cold. Jordan Sauce tells us how to safely heat our homes, especially when power fails.
The first and most important safety message that we always push out is to make sure that you have operational smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms in your home. Those alarms need to be at least 10 years or younger. So if they're older than 10 years, the entire device needs to be taken down, thrown away, and replaced with brand new devices. We recommend that you have smoke alarms in every bedroom, outside of every sleeping area, and one on every level of your home. In terms of carbon monoxide alarms, we recommend that you have one on every level of your home as well. And that is if you have gas appliances, an attached garage, and or a fireplace that you use on a regular basis. Fire hazards obviously are a huge deal during this time of year. In fact, October through February is some of the highest times for structure fires, and that can be caused by candles that are being left unattended or people trying to use those as heat. In addition to candles, anytime you use a fireplace, anytime you're using a space heater, any type of heat producing object, that could be a gas powered water heater as well. Keep anything that can catch fire at least 3 feet away from anything that produces heat. So if it produces heat and it can catch fire, keep that distance 3 feet at a minimum. Newspapers, books, carpet if you can. That's why there's typically a hearth in front of fireplaces, because it builds in that space that's needed to make sure things don't catch on fire. That goes for curtains and bedding and blankets as well. So there's a lot of things that we want people to know during the winter time, during any time of year actually, to avoid emergency disasters and to mitigate some of the effects that it might have on you and your family. It's all about preparation and what you do before the emergency actually happens. And so we recommend having flashlights, batteries, non-perishable foods, some bottled water available and in a location that you can quickly and easily access in order to be up and running sooner rather than later. Have a list of contacts that you can call, places you can go that might still have heat. So somebody on the other side of town that you can say, hey, we're going on 2 or 3 days without heat or warmth. Can we come over for an hour a day just to warm up, thaw out, and try and stay healthy, get a good night's sleep, things like that. Pay attention to freezing of pipes, gutters. I know personally that people are already experiencing water coming into their homes. As the ice and the snow start to melt that's on their roofs, in their gutters, it's going to backflow potentially underneath the flashing and get into their homes. And so pipes might freeze, they might burst. So it's important to be cognizant of how you can prevent that, because that's going to help alleviate a lot of the damage that people might experience. When it comes to alternative heating, there's not much you can do. If you have gas heat, maybe that's even better than having electric, because you now have some opportunity to still have heat, but carbon monoxide exposure and poisoning is still a prime factor that you have to consider, which is why you need carbon monoxide alarms in your home. Things not to do, but things that we have seen in the past: people bringing in their gas grills, turning on their gas stoves and opening the door. Anything like that is unsafe and is a recipe for disaster when it comes to carbon monoxide exposure. It's important to have layers, so make sure you dress in layers with long johns, sweats, jeans, jackets, clothes that you typically wear outside, you might have to wear inside as well. Find all your blankets, get creative, take the sheets off the bed if you have to. As far as trying to keep your house warm, around doors and windows, you can lose a lot of warm air due to cold air seeping in. So make sure you find a way to seal your entryways, your windows, your doors, to allow the warm air that you do have in your house to stay inside. If people want more information or if they have additional questions, they can check out the website that Emergency Management puts together. They have a whole list of things that you can do ahead of time, during, and after an emergency to be prepared.
Most meetings at City Hall continue to run virtually, but we are bringing many of these meetings to you live. Check out our website for the most accurate and up-to-date coverage of city business. And for the latest on how the city is handling the pandemic, visit our official response site, including testing and vaccination sites. Simply click on the banner at the top of our homepage. That's all for now, but as always, you can keep up with us on social media, check out the latest traffic updates on Twitter @LexRex, or catch our live traffic cams on lexingtonky.gov. For all of us at Lex TV, I'm Neil Noah, and that's it for now.